My beloved chosen ones, have you ever felt the energy shift around you? What started as a simple rivalry has now spiraled into a battlefield. The laughter that once filled the air has faded. The alliances that seemed unbreakable, they've shattered. The community that once cheered and moved together now stands in silence, watching and waiting. And in the center of it all, your name lingers on their tongues, spoken like a curse. You never asked for this war, but the moment you claimed your throne, egos cracked, betrayals surfaced. And now, the streets are buzzing with one chilling warning. Someone is about to get jumped. The stakes are higher than ever, tempers are flaring, and the fallout, it's inevitable. So, chosen ones, how does it feel to stand in the midst of this chaos? To know that your presence alone has brought about such a powerful shift? This is where the drama peaks, and someone is about to learn the hard way. But remember, you don't need to fight. The universe is already working on your behalf. Before we dive deeper into this, I want to take a moment to express my deep gratitude to all of you who have shown support by donating through Super Thanks. Your generosity is truly appreciated, whether through a donation or simply by being here and engaging with the message. Thank you for being part of this journey. Now, I'd love to hear from you. If this message resonates with you, leave a comment with the number 999 to let me know you're ready for what's coming next. Stay tuned, because the battle is far from over, but you, chosen one, are destined to rise above it all. God's chosen ones, someone will get jumped. This community turned against each other because of you. Chosen one, do you ever wonder what it feels like when people come together with a shared goal? But that goal is to bring you down. They stood united once, bound by a common desire to tear you apart, to diminish your worth, to erase your light. The weapons they wielded were not just physical, they were deeper, more insidious. Gossip, slander, manipulation, and even spiritual warfare became their tools. With smiles on their faces, they launched their attacks, laughing, celebrating as they wove their webs of deceit. They created a false narrative, painting you as the villain, as the one who didn't belong, as the problem that needed to be eradicated. And for a time, their tactics seemed to work. Their voices were louder than yours, their unity stronger than your resolve. They convinced themselves that they were untouchable, that they held the upper hand, that no one could challenge their power. But how long can such deception last, chosen one? As the scriptures say, for nothing is hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open. Luke 8:17. The truth always finds a way to emerge, even when masked by lies. Something started to change. The unity that once gave them strength began to crumble. The same bond that held them together has now become the very thing that's tearing them apart. The trust they once had in one another has been poisoned by doubt, paranoia, and bitterness. Have you ever wondered what happens when the lies they told about you turn back on them? They don't just question you anymore. Now, they question each other. Who was the one who spread the first rumor? Who exaggerated the truth to further their agenda? Who secretly admired the person they were meant to hate? The lines between friend and foe began to blur, and the reality they had so carefully ignored now stood before them. You were never their enemy. You were merely the mirror that reflected their flaws, the light that exposed their shadows. In the words of Proverbs 26:27, whoever digs a pit will fall into it. If someone rolls a stone, it will roll back on them. Their lies were the pit they dug, and now they find themselves falling into it. They no longer have you to blame, chosen one. Without you to target, they have turned inward. And what they find is not pretty. It's the raw truth, the uncomfortable realization that their bond was never truly about friendship. It was based on a shared disdain for you. They were never united by love, but by the shadows of resentment and jealousy. And now, with that bond broken, all that remains is the truth. Their so-called family was built on falsehoods, and now it is collapsing under the weight of its own deceit. Is this not a reminder of how fragile human unity can be when it's built on lies? Consider the story of David, the young shepherd who was mocked and belittled by King Saul and his followers, even though David had always been loyal. Saul's jealousy tore apart the unity he had with his own people, much like the unity of those who turned against you. David remained true to his purpose, and eventually the lies and jealousy came crashing down on Saul. 1 Samuel 18-19. But chosen one, there's hope in this. Even when those around you try to break you, even when they turn on each other, remember that God has a plan for you. In the end, your light will shine brighter, and those who sought to destroy you will be exposed. Like Joseph, who was sold by his brothers into slavery, yet rose to power and became the one who saved his family. Genesis 45:5. Your story too is one of ultimate redemption. So when they turn on each other, as they will, remember this: the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Psalm 27:1. Keep walking in your purpose, chosen one, and trust that every attempt to destroy you will only lead to the revelation of truth, the downfall of falsehoods, and your eventual rise. Just as Abraham's faith remained steadfast even in the face of betrayal, Genesis 22:1-18, you too must stand firm, knowing that the truth will always prevail in the end. Keep shining, chosen one, for your journey is not in vain. Chosen one, have you ever witnessed how a community that once stood as a united front can crumble into chaos when the foundation it was built on is shaken? That's exactly what's happening now. The same group that once moved in harmony, driven by shared goals and common purpose, has now fractured into factions. The liars are fighting the liars. The manipulators are manipulating one another. The very tricks they used to bring you down are now being turned against them. It's as if they've spent so much time building a web of illusions that they've forgotten what's real. They lost sight of the one thing that once held them together: you. Isn't it fascinating, chosen one, how the thing they feared most, your strength, has become the very cause of their downfall? Remember the wisdom in Matthew 12:25. Every kingdom divided against itself will be ruined, and every city or household divided against itself will not stand. And now we see that truth unfolding before our eyes. The moment they lost sight of their shared focus, the moment they diverted their energy from the common purpose, they began to turn on each other. Their unity, once their strength, has become their weakness. What happens when the enemy no longer has a common target? What happens when the one thing they had in common, the hatred of you, disappears? The answer is simple. They start to fight among themselves. And that is exactly what's happening now. It's as if the energy that once bound them is now a force of destruction. Betrayals are quietly brewing. Secrets that were once buried are slipping out, and the very air around them seems thick with tension. Can you feel it, chosen one? The chaos they tried to inflict on you has now returned to them, and they're drowning in it. In the same way, the people who have conspired against you are now trapped in a cycle they cannot escape. It's almost as if they've woven their own fate into the very lies they told about you. As Proverbs 6:14 reminds us, with deceit in his heart, he devises evil. Constantly, he sows discord. The seeds of discord they planted are now sprouting all around them, and the consequences are inevitable. This is only the beginning. The whispers that once sought to tear you apart have grown louder, more urgent. Have you ever been in a room so thick with tension that you could almost cut it with a knife? That's the atmosphere now, chosen one. The lies are unraveling, and the tension is palpable. people within their circle are starting to expose the truth, whether they intend to or not. What happens when a lie is exposed? It spreads like wildfire, and the very foundation they built on deceit begins to crack. And now, the people who once stood shoulder to shoulder against you are looking over their shoulders, wondering who will strike next. They're no longer concerned with you. Now, it's all about survival. This reminds me of the story of the great Roman Emperor Julius Caesar. He had ruled over the Roman Empire with power and influence, but his trust in those closest to him ultimately led to his downfall. He never imagined that the very people who once called him their ally would turn on him. When betrayal finally came, it came from within his own inner circle, and it led to his tragic assassination. Plutarch, Life of Julius Caesar. Just like Caesar, they now face the consequences of their own actions. Actions that they once believed would secure their position. The Bible speaks of this kind of moment of truth in Proverbs 4:19. But the way of the wicked is like deep darkness. They do not know what makes them stumble. This is their moment, chosen one. The light of truth is shining in their darkness, and they can no longer ignore it. Just as King Saul's kingdom crumbled when he ignored the truth and allowed jealousy to guide his actions, those who have turned on you will face the same fate. 1 Samuel 18 through 19. And now, the very people who once sought your destruction are forced to confront the reality of their own deceit. But chosen one, remember this. When the enemy is divided, their power is diminished. When their lies are exposed, they are left defenseless. Keep walking in the light of truth, for you are stronger than they realize. As Romans 8:31 says, "If God is for us, who can be against us?" The chaos they have unleashed will be their undoing, and your steadfastness in the truth will be your victory. Chosen one, do you ever wonder how the strongest bonds can suddenly feel so fragile? The connections that once seemed unbreakable, solid as stone, are now crumbling under the weight of lies and deceit. Best friends, once inseparable, are now sworn enemies. The same people who once laughed together, planned together, and moved as a unified force are now meeting in secret, forming new alliances, preparing to throw each other under the bus. Why, chosen one, does this happen? What happens when the trust that once bound them together is shattered by deception? They feel it too. Something is coming, and they know they won't all make it out unscathed. And the question now is, who will be the one to pay the price for the lies they've spun? It's an unsettling thought, but it's a truth you can't escape. They believed their lies would protect them. They thought they were untouchable, that no one would ever uncover their deceit. But now, paranoia has set in. Every conversation feels like a minefield. Every interaction becomes a test. Did they hear what I said? Do they know what I did? Who will expose me next? The weight of their own lies is eating them alive, and the more they try to hide the truth, the more their guilt becomes apparent. Can you see it, chosen one? The fear, the tension, the cracking of the facade. This is the beginning of their unraveling. As Proverbs 12:19 says, "Truthful lips endure forever, but a lying tongue lasts only a moment." Their lies, no matter how cleverly woven, are doomed to fall apart, in the same way that a house built on sand will eventually collapse when the storm comes. Their web of deceit is beginning to unravel, and just like the first whispers of a storm that slowly grow louder and more intense, the pressure is mounting. They are no longer in control of the narrative. Every glance, every word exchanged is now filled with suspicion. And when fear takes hold, there's always someone who cracks, someone who can no longer bear the weight of the lies, someone who sees the writing on the wall and decides to act first. The first betrayal is always the hardest, but it's also the one that sets everything in motion. And once it happens, there's no turning back. This is what happened to Julius Caesar, chosen one. His closest allies, the ones who once stood with him, conspired behind his back. They knew something was about to shift. Caesar's power, once unshakable, was becoming a threat to their own ambitions. And so, one by one, they betrayed him, including Brutus, who was considered a friend, even family. The betrayal began with whispers, secrets, and fears that grew into actions that ultimately led to Caesar's assassination. Plutarch, Life of Julius Caesar. Betrayal often starts with one person, the weakest link, the one who feels cornered by their own guilt. But the result is always the same: chaos, destruction, and the beginning of the end. In the same way, the people who once stood together against you, chosen one, are now crumbling under the pressure of their own guilt. One person will break the silence, and the truth will spill out like a flood. Secrets that were meant to stay hidden will come to light. Blame will be shifted, fingers pointed, and names dragged through the mud. But the more they try to protect themselves, the more they set the world on fire. In the end, as Proverbs 6:16-19 reminds us, there are 6 things the Lord hates, 7 that are detestable to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked schemes, feet that are quick to rush into evil, a false witness who pours out lies, and a person who stirs up conflict in the community. Their deceit, their lies, their manipulation will be their undoing. Chosen one, in moments like these you must remember, truth always rises to the surface. As it is written in John 8:32, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." Even as their lies are exposed, even as they try to protect themselves, you must stand firm in your truth. Like Joseph, who endured betrayal from his own brothers and yet rose to a place of power and honor, Genesis 45:5. You too will find redemption and victory. The flames they try to ignite to protect themselves will be the very fire that purifies the truth and leads to their downfall. When that first betrayal happens, chosen one, remember that it is not the end. It is the beginning of the truth being revealed. Their webs of lies will fall apart, and in the end, the only thing left standing will be the truth. And that truth will set you free. Just as David, when betrayed by his own son Absalom, found solace in God's justice, 2 Samuel 15-18, you will find peace knowing that the truth will always prevail, no matter how much they try to hide it. Chosen one, have you ever seen a group of people whose loyalty once seemed unwavering, suddenly turned against each other? It's a painful thing to watch, but it's happening right before your eyes. There is no more loyalty, no more trust. The very foundation they built their unity on has been shattered, and now they are officially at war with one another. Some are still trying to keep the illusion of togetherness, desperately clinging to the idea that they can hold it all together. But chosen one, deep down, they know it's too late. The damage has already been done. The lies, the deceit, the betrayal, they cannot be undone. And now, those who once led the charge against you are finding themselves hunted within their own ranks. Have you ever wondered what happens when the very people who conspired against you are forced to face the consequences of their actions? What happens when those who once stood shoulder to shoulder in their deceit now find themselves in a fight for their own survival? The storm that they've been ignoring is now crashing down upon them. Someone is about to pay the price. Someone will be sacrificed. It doesn't matter how it happens, physically, socially, or spiritually. Someone will be the scapegoat. Maybe it's the one who spoke too freely, who thought they could get away with spilling secrets. Maybe it's the one who got caught in the act of lying, whose truth has now been exposed. Or maybe it's the one who thought they were untouchable, only to realize they were the most expendable of them all. One thing is certain, the unity that once held them together has crumbled, and now they're turning on each other. And it's only going to get worse from here. This chosen one is the nature of betrayal. Once the lies have been exposed, once the truth has come to light, there is no place for loyalty or trust to hide. People will turn on each other in an attempt to save themselves. In fact, Proverbs 18:19 tells us, "A brother wronged is more unyielding than a fortified city. Disputes are like the barred gates of a citadel. The walls of their defenses are crumbling, and now they are left to fight for what little power they have left. The once unbreakable bond has become their greatest weakness." The story of Judas Iscariot comes to mind, chosen one. He was once part of the inner circle, trusted by Jesus, yet he betrayed him for 30 pieces of silver. But when the betrayal was exposed, Judas found himself with nothing but guilt, and eventually his actions led to his tragic end. Matthew 27:3-5. Judas thought he could hide his betrayal, but in the end, the very same betrayal he caused turned against him. The storm he helped create ultimately destroyed him. And now, those who conspired against you, chosen one, are facing the same fate. They cannot escape the consequences of their own actions. Just as King David faced betrayal by his own son Absalom, who sought to steal his throne, the same sense of division and loss has now come for them. 2 Samuel 15-18. The family they built through deceit is now breaking apart, and the consequences are inevitable. Betrayal has a way of finding its way back to those who sow it. The question now is, what will you do when you see them turning on each other? Will you rejoice in their downfall? Or will you hold fast to your purpose, knowing that their destruction was not of your making, but the result of their own choices? As Romans 12:19 reminds us, "Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath, for it is written, 'It is mine to avenge, I will repay,' says the Lord." You are not the one who will bring them down, chosen one. That is not your role. Their actions are bringing the storm upon them, and it is not for you to interfere. The irony is this: the ones who thought they were untouchable, who believed they could deceive without consequences, are now realizing the true cost of their actions. It is written in Galatians 6:7, "Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows." The seeds of division and betrayal they sowed are now sprouting into a harvest of chaos, and in the end, they will have no one but themselves to blame. Chosen one, have you ever witnessed something that seemed flawless in its design, only to fall apart in the most catastrophic way? That's what's happening now. The plan was perfect until it wasn't. They thought they had it all under control, that their lies and manipulations would hold forever, that they could control the narrative and shape the world around them. But as we know, chosen one, the truth has a way of breaking through the strongest walls. And when things began to unravel, they didn't just fall apart, they imploded. The same people who once swore loyalty to each other, the very ones who conspired against you, are now scrambling, desperate to rewrite the story before it swallows them whole. Have you ever watched someone try so desperately to control a situation, only to find that the more they try to fix it, the worse it becomes? That's the chaos they are now facing. It's every man for himself. The unity they once shared is gone. The first cracks in their facade are appearing in hushed conversations, frantic messages, and secret meetings. They thought they could manipulate their way out of this, but the fear has set in. And as fear takes over, it makes people sloppy. People who once operated in secrecy now find themselves exposed, their every move a testament to their guilt. Some of them are scrambling to erase their tracks, deleting messages, blocking contacts, pretending they were never involved. But in their haste, they only expose themselves further. Others are trying to rewrite history, shifting the blame onto the next person in line, hoping to disappear into the background. The problem is, chosen one, it's already too late. The truth is out, and it's dragging them under, just like the storm they tried to create for you. Isn't it remarkable how, once the truth begins to surface, the lies and manipulations they worked so hard to build start to fall apart. It's as if all their efforts to control the narrative are swept away by a tidal wave of honesty. Proverbs 12:19 reminds us, "Truthful lips endure forever, but a lying tongue lasts only a moment." Their lies, no matter how carefully constructed, are destined to fail, and now they are experiencing the weight of that failure. This reminds me of the story of King David, chosen one. He too faced a time when his carefully laid plans fell apart. David had arranged for Uriah to be killed in battle so that he could take Bathsheba as his own. But what happened? His sin was exposed and the consequences were far-reaching. David tried to cover up his actions, but the truth could not be hidden. And in the end, he faced the consequences of his choices. Just as those who turned against you will face the fallout of their own deceit. 2 Samuel 11:1-27. No one can outrun the truth, no matter how hard they try. And so, now we watch as those who once stood united against you are turning on each other, trying to avoid the consequences they fear are coming. But as they scramble, as they try to cover their tracks, they only dig themselves deeper. Galatians 6:7 says, "Do not be deceived, God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows." Every lie they told, every manipulation they orchestrated is now coming back to haunt them. They tried to plant seeds of discord, but now those seeds are sprouting chaos, and they have no one to blame but themselves. But chosen one, don't be deceived by their frantic attempts to hide their guilt. Just as Jesus revealed the truth to the Pharisees, exposing their hypocrisy, so too will the truth be revealed in this situation. Matthew 23:27-28. The lies may have served them for a time, but now they are falling apart, and no amount of scrambling will save them from the inevitable. As they try to rewrite history, they are only sealing their own fate. The fear they feel is their own doing. They tried to make you the villain, to paint you as the one who didn't belong. But now, the real villains are exposed for who they truly are. Their manipulations will only lead them to ruin. Remember, chosen one, the truth always comes to light, no matter how dark the world becomes. As John 8:32 reminds us, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." The truth has already started to spread, and it will continue to dismantle their lies. As they fall deeper into their own web of deceit, you must stand firm in the light of the truth that you have always carried. The story of Joseph's brothers comes to mind as well. They tried to cover up their betrayal by lying to their father and deceiving everyone around them. But in the end, Joseph's dreams, the truth of his journey, could not be hidden. It was revealed, and those who had betrayed him were left to face the consequences. Genesis 42-45. In the same way, those who conspired against you will ultimately face the reality of their choices, and they will have no one but themselves to blame. Chosen one, have you ever witnessed a group's perfect facade crumble in an instant, all because the weakest link finally breaks? It's a wild thing to behold, but it's happening right now. One of them, maybe out of guilt, maybe out of fear, starts talking. This isn't just a whisper. No, it's a full confession. The secrets that were buried in darkness are now being brought to light. Who orchestrated what? Who lied about what? Who was involved from the very beginning? Every detail spilling out, and just like that, the entire foundation of their scheme crumbles. Isn't it incredible, chosen one, how the truth has such power? As Proverbs 12:19 reminds us, "Truthful lips endure forever, but a lying tongue lasts only a moment." The lies that held them together are falling apart, and they cannot stop it. Panic sets in. Those who once stood tall, who laughed at your downfall, are now frantically pointing fingers, throwing each other under the bus, doing whatever it takes to survive. Their unity, gone. The alliances they swore were unbreakable, shattered beyond repair. The very people who plotted against you, who shared in the deception, are now in full-on damage control mode, desperately trying to protect themselves from the consequences of their actions. Have you ever seen how quickly someone can turn on their own when the walls begin to close in on them? It's as if the bond that once united them was never real in the first place, and now every accusation they make leads to another betrayal. Every cover-up exposes another lie. It's a vicious cycle. The ones who once screamed the loudest, who led the charge against you, are now the first to fold under pressure. They cry out for innocence, but deep down, their own people know the truth. In fact, as Proverbs 28:13 says, "Whoever conceals their sins does not prosper, but the one who confesses and renounces them finds mercy." They thought they could hide their wrongdoings, but now the truth is finding its way into the open. This is only the beginning. Chosen one. As the pressure mounts, the real consequences of their actions begin to surface. What was once hidden in the shadows is now coming to light. Criminal activity, shady dealings, spiritual warfare, everything they thought they could keep concealed is being exposed. The exposure is brutal, chosen one. It's as if the weight of their sins is crashing down on them all at once. Careers, reputations, finances, relationships. Nothing is safe anymore. Nothing can shield them from the storm they've created. Remember the story of King Saul, chosen one. He too thought he could get away with his disobedience. He hid his actions from Samuel, hoping his sins would remain secret. But when the truth came to light, the consequences were severe. His kingdom was taken from him, and his reputation tarnished forever. 1 Samuel 15. Just as Saul thought he could hide his sins, those who conspired against you are now facing the truth of their own actions. The lies they told have caught up with them, and now they must pay the price. In the same way, think about the story of Ananias and Sapphira in Acts 5:1-11. They thought they could deceive the apostles by lying about the money they were giving to the church. But their lie was exposed, and the consequences were immediate and severe. They thought they could hide their sin, but in the end, their dishonesty brought about their downfall. This is the very thing happening to those who plotted against you. Their lies and manipulations are now being brought to light, and the exposure will be as swift as it is harsh. And just like them, those who have caused harm to you will now experience the fallout of their own choices. Romans 2:6-8 reminds us, God will repay each person according to what they have done. To those who by persistence in doing good seek glory, honor, and immortality, he will give eternal life. But for those who are self-seeking and who reject the truth and follow evil, there will be wrath and anger. The consequences are inevitable, and no amount of scrambling or damage control can escape what's coming for them. They thought they could outsmart the truth, but now they are being swallowed by it. So, chosen one, watch closely. The chaos they have created is now consuming them, and while they scramble to cover their tracks, while they point fingers and cast blame, remember this: their downfall is not of your making. Their actions have brought this upon themselves. Just as the prophet Jeremiah declared in Jeremiah 23:29, "Is not my word like fire, declares the Lord, and like a hammer that breaks a rock in pieces?" The truth is like fire, chosen one. It burns through all lies, all deceit, and in the end it will be the fire of truth that will destroy their foundation, leaving only the ashes of their broken schemes. Chosen one, they thought they were in control, pulling the strings, manipulating everything in their path. But now they are trapped by their own actions. The hunters have become the hunted. The very web they wove to entangle you is now the very thing that holds them captive. The fear they tried to instill in you, it's now consuming them. Isn't it incredible, chosen one, how the tables can turn so quickly? As it is written in Galatians 6:7, "Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows." They sowed seeds of deceit, betrayal, and fear, and now they are reaping the harvest. Their unity, once built on the manipulation of others, has shattered, and they're left to pick up the pieces. They thought they were untouchable, that their schemes would always work in their favor. But now they are realizing the undeniable truth. The chaos they created is now consuming them. They wanted to sow disorder and fear, but now they are drowning in it. The irony is striking, isn't it, Chosen One? They thought this was all just petty drama, just words, just games, just manipulation, but they didn't realize the forces they were playing with. They thought their actions were harmless, but they were engaging in something far more dangerous. Every lie they told, every attack they launched, every move they made against you, it carried weight. It wasn't just gossip or slander, it was a spiritual war. And now the consequences of their actions are closing in on them, just as Scripture warns in Ephesians 6:12. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. They were playing with energies they didn't fully understand, manipulating situations without realizing the spiritual consequences. And now it's coming back for them. What they didn't understand is that their actions weren't just words. They were feeding into something far more powerful. They thought they were untouchable, but in reality, they had made deals with forces they had no control over. Now those deals are broken, and the energy they unleashed is turning on them. It's almost like they didn't realize they had tied their fate to something beyond their comprehension. Consider the story of the prophet Jonah, Chosen One. Jonah tried to run from God's calling, thinking he could escape the consequences of his disobedience. But in the end, his attempts to avoid the inevitable brought about a storm that affected everyone around him. Just as Jonah's actions triggered a storm that no one could control, those who tried to destroy you have unknowingly summoned a storm of their own making. Jonah 1:1-17. The very forces they unleashed against you are now spiraling out of their control. And when you walked away, when you stopped playing their games, when you refused to react, everything began to shift. The moment you stopped entertaining their lies and manipulations, their power started to wither. You stopped being their target, their source of energy. They needed you to keep fighting back, to stay engaged in their chaos, to give them the attention and power they craved. But the moment you stopped reacting, the moment you refused to give them what they wanted, their strength evaporated. In Isaiah 40:29 it says, "He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak." But their strength didn't come from within. They drew it from feeding off of your energy. The moment you withdrew, they lost the power they thought they had. The same thing happened with the story of Samson. He was a mighty man with strength given to him by God. But when he revealed the secret of his strength to Delilah, his power was taken away. The moment he allowed himself to be drained, the Philistines were able to capture him. Judges 16. This is exactly what's happening now. They once relied on your energy to stay powerful, but now that you've stopped engaging, their power is dissipating, and they are left vulnerable. So, Chosen One, let this be a lesson to you. The moment you stop playing their game, the moment you stop reacting to their attacks, you take away the very power they thought they had over you. They needed your energy to survive, but now, with you no longer playing their part in the drama, they are left powerless, exposed, and vulnerable. And soon, they will realize that their attempts to control you were never about you. They were always about the energy they could drain from you. As 2 Corinthians 12:9 reminds us, "But he said to me, 'My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me.'" In your withdrawal, you've allowed God's power to shine, and in their desperation, they will soon see that they are the ones who have lost everything. Chosen One, they're exhausted, drained, and empty. They spent so much time feeding off your energy, trying to take what wasn't theirs, that they forgot how to sustain themselves. And now, without you to feed off of, they have nothing left. It's almost like they've been running on borrowed power all along, believing it was their own. But now the truth is hitting them hard. They were never in control. Their power was never truly theirs to begin with. The signs are everywhere. Chosen one. Sleepless nights, unexplained paranoia, strange misfortunes and sudden losses. They thought they could attack you without consequences, but now their own attacks are bouncing back with a force they never saw coming. Some of them are physically sick, others are losing money, friends, opportunities, all the things they took for granted while they tried to tear you down. They thought they set traps for you, but now they're the ones falling into them. Because karma doesn't forget, chosen one. As Galatians 6:7 reminds us, do not be deceived, God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. The harvest they planted in deceit is now coming back to them in ways they could never have imagined. Do you remember how they laughed when they thought they were winning, chosen one? They mocked you, believing you were weak, believing you had no power to stand up for yourself. But they didn't understand that you were never truly alone. You were divinely protected. Every attempt they made to destroy you, every curse they sent out, every lie they spread, was only digging their own graves. And now they're scrambling to find a way out. They're offering desperate apologies, pretending to be kind, attempting forced reconciliations. But none of it matters anymore. It's not about what they say now, it's about what they did then. The damage has already been done. They sealed their fate the moment they decided to betray you. And then there are those who refuse to acknowledge what's happening. They're doubling down, refusing to admit that something is off. But deep down, they know it's only a matter of time before everything unravels. They can sense the darkness creeping in, and the worst part is, they can't stop what's coming. It's too late. They set in motion forces far beyond their understanding, and now those forces are coming for them. As it's written in Luke 8:17, for there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open. The truth is coming, and it will expose everything they tried to hide. At first, they tried to convince themselves that they were part of something bigger, that they had agreed to play their role in bringing you down for a reason. But the longer they watched, the harder it became to deny the truth. They began to realize you weren't the problem. They were. The very people who sent them to destroy you were the ones who lacked integrity, the ones who twisted reality to fit their own agenda. And now, the hitman they sent after you has a choice to make. Will they follow through with the betrayal, knowing full well that it's based on lies? Or will they switch sides, turning against the very people they once called friends, knowing that doing so will make them a traitor in the eyes of those who once trusted them? And do you know what they choose? Chosen one, they choose you. Not because you asked them to, not because you begged for their loyalty, but because the truth is undeniable. They can't be part of something so corrupt anymore. They turn their back on the people who sent them, and in doing so, they become the biggest threat to their own community. They know too much now. They were there when the plans were made. They know who said what, who did what, and how deep the deception truly goes. And the ones they once stood with, they know it too. They know they've lost control of their weapon, and they have no idea what this person will do, what they'll reveal, or who they'll expose. They know their secret is no longer safe. Does this sound familiar, chosen one? Think of Edward Snowden, who once worked for the NSA and decided to blow the whistle on the illegal surveillance programs being carried out by the government. He exposed secrets that shook the foundations of global security, and in doing so, he became a target for those who once trusted him. His choice to expose the truth, despite the personal cost, is a perfect example of someone who could no longer stand by and be part of corruption. Just like the hitman in your story, Snowden switched sides, revealing what he knew and becoming a threat to the very institution that once held his loyalty. Another example is Cynthia Cooper, the whistleblower in the WorldCom scandal. She was a senior auditor who discovered massive accounting fraud at the company, and despite the risks to her career, she chose to expose the truth. Her decision to reveal the fraud ultimately led to the downfall of the company, and she became one of the most important whistleblowers in corporate America. Her actions, like those of the hitman in your story, set in motion a series of events that could not be undone. By turning her back on the people who were part of the deception, she became a force for justice, exposing the lies that threatened to destroy everything. They thought they had it all figured out, every move calculated, every attack designed to bring you down. They whispered lies, spread rumors, set traps they were sure you'd fall into. They wanted to see you broken, humiliated, stripped of everything. But instead, everything they did to you has come back to them. At first, they didn't notice the small inconveniences, the missed opportunities, the financial struggles, or the relationships that began to crumble. But over time, it became impossible to ignore. The very weapons they used against you, those same lies, those same traps, are now their undoing. As Psalm 7:15-16 says, "Whoever digs a hole and scoops it out falls into the pit they have made. The trouble they cause recoils on them. Their violence comes down on their own heads." Chosen one, it's clear now. Everything they sent your way has come full circle. The lies they spread are now the very chains that bind them. The darkness they tried to send after you has turned on them, and now they are trapped in the very chaos they created. The power they thought they had over you, it was never theirs to begin with, and now they must face the consequences of their actions. Chosen one, have you ever seen how quickly a carefully constructed lie can unravel? Some of them tried to destroy your reputation, spreading rumors like wildfire, whispering in ears, convincing others to turn against you. They wanted to paint you as the villain, the outcast, the one no one could trust. They thought they could tear you down with their words, manipulate the perception of those around you. But here's the truth. Lies are fragile. All it takes is one contradiction, one slip-up, one moment when the light of truth shines through. And just like that, the people who once believed their lies started to doubt. The same mouths that once spread slander now fumbled to explain why none of it made sense. And in that moment, the credibility they worked so hard to build collapsed. Now, it's their names that are being questioned. The same crowd they once manipulated is now turning on them, realizing they were the true deceivers all along. The very energy they sent your way, those curses they threw, the spiritual warfare they waged against you, is now turning back on them. Some played dirty, not just with words but with energy, using their negative intentions to drain your strength. But they forgot one thing: the universe doesn't work that way. Energy moves in cycles. What you send out always finds its way back. And now they're feeling the consequences of their actions: the sleepless nights, the unshakable anxiety, the unexplained sickness that doctors can't diagnose, the sudden loss of money, opportunities and support. As it's written in Proverbs 26:27, whoever digs a pit will fall into it. If someone rolls a stone, it will roll back on them. Their actions have boomeranged, and now they are paying the price for what they sent out into the world. They thought they were in control. They believed they were untouchable, that they could tap into forces beyond them without consequence. But now they realize they were playing with fire, and the flames, they're burning them alive. As Hebrews 10:31 warns, it is a dreadful thing to fall into the hands of the living God. The very forces they thought they could control are now consuming them. Chosen one, some of them tried to steal from you, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. They wanted your ideas, your gifts, your blessings. They thought that if they could take from you, they could become you. But blessings can't be stolen. They are assigned. And now they've lost everything. The same people who tried to block your path, who tried to hold you back, are now standing at a dead end. The opportunities they once had, gone. The influence they once wielded, fading. They took, but instead of gaining, they lost. Because what wasn't meant for them was never going to last. As James 4:3 says, "When you ask, you do not receive, because you ask with wrong motives, that you may spend what you get on your pleasures." They sought to take what wasn't theirs, and now they are left with nothing. The betrayals they carried out have now led to their own downfall. They thought they could manipulate, control, and silence you, but in trying to do so, they exposed themselves. They spent so much time crafting a trap for you that they forgot one simple rule. You can't set fire to someone else's house without burning your own. And now they're standing in the ashes of their own destruction. Their deceitful schemes have backfired, chosen one, and now they are left to face the consequences of their actions. As Romans 2:6 reminds us, God will repay each person according to what they have done. Their betrayal has led them down a path from which there is no return. They wanted to see you fall. Instead, they fell into their own pit. The lies they spread, the schemes they crafted, the betrayals they executed, they have all come full circle, and now someone is about to pay the price. The panic is setting in, chosen one, and it's getting ugly. They know the group is no longer what it used to be. The false alliances, the fake friendships, the so-called unity, it was all a facade. And now that it's crumbling, they're desperate to find a scapegoat, the one who talked too much, the one who was caught in their own lie. They're the new target. There's always one, chosen one, the one who becomes the scapegoat when everything falls apart. And now they're turning on each other, trying to save themselves, but the damage is already done. Remember the story of Lance Armstrong, who once seemed invincible in the world of professional cycling. He built a reputation of strength and resilience, but his lies, his manipulation of the system, eventually unraveled. The truth of his doping scandal surfaced, and all the success he thought he had built came crashing down. He thought he could manipulate his image and control the narrative, but in the end, his own lies and the energy he put into maintaining them destroyed his career and reputation. He too found out that lies, once exposed, carry with them irreversible consequences. Another example is Elizabeth Holmes, the founder of Theranos, who was once hailed as the next big thing in Silicon Valley. She built her empire on deception, convincing investors, doctors, and the public that her blood testing technology could revolutionize healthcare. But when the truth came to light, it was revealed that her technology didn't work, and her entire business was built on lies. Now, she faces charges and a broken reputation. Like those who tried to destroy you, her manipulation of truth ultimately led to her own downfall. She thought she could control the narrative, but in the end, the truth she tried to bury came back to expose everything. Chosen one, have you ever seen someone panic when the truth starts closing in on them? The one who panicked first, who spilled too much, who thought they could save themselves by shifting the blame, now they're the one everyone is looking at. Their lies are unraveling, and the whispers turn into accusations. Who gave up our secrets, they ask, and the pointing fingers begin. The very people who once stood by them are now questioning their every move. They corner them, make them feel the same fear they once inflicted on others, hoping to save themselves. But the truth is, chosen one, it's too late. Their desperation to escape only sealed their fate. As Proverbs 18:7 says, "The mouths of fools are their undoing, and their lips are a snare to their very lives." The very lies they spun to protect themselves are now trapping them in a web they can't escape. Have you ever noticed that when someone tries to manipulate too much, their actions always come back to them? The one who made the wrong move, the one who got sloppy, caught in a lie, or manipulated the wrong person. Now they're the one being kicked out. It's like a game of musical chairs, chosen one. The same people who once cheered them on, who stood by them in moments of glory, are now tossing them aside, seeing them as dead weight. They've become expendable. The moment you become a liability in a group like this, you're disposable. The true nature of their loyalty is revealed. It was never real. And now they're being exiled, cut off, thrown away as though they never mattered. As Jesus said in Matthew 10:36, "A man's enemies will be the members of his own household." The betrayal they were once part of is now turning on them, and no one is left to defend them. In such a group, chosen one, loyalty means nothing. It's all about survival, and the ultimate price is yet to be paid. Someone is about to be sacrificed. For some, it won't just be social exile or being cut out of the group, it will be far worse. For those who played the dirtiest, who crossed lines that can't be uncrossed, the consequences will be severe. Financial ruin, public humiliation, legal consequences, even physical danger. They thought they were in control, thought they could manipulate the situation to their advantage. But now, they're the ones being hunted. They are now the ones facing the wrath they once so freely dished out. Think about Bernie Madoff, chosen one. He thought he was untouchable as he orchestrated one of the largest Ponzi schemes in history. He manipulated and deceived thousands, believing that his actions would never catch up to him. But when the truth came to light, it wasn't just his business that crumbled, it was his entire life. His reputation was destroyed, he faced legal consequences, and he was sentenced to prison. The fallout from his lies and manipulation wasn't just financial, it was personal. The very power he thought he had over others turned against him, and he paid the ultimate price. Another example is Harvey Weinstein, whose career in Hollywood was built on power, manipulation, and control. He used his position to silence and intimidate countless people. But when the truth began to surface, his world came crashing down. The very people who once praised him turned on him, and the legal and social consequences were severe. His empire of lies and manipulation imploded, and he found himself facing public humiliation, legal battles, and the end of his career. He thought he was untouchable, but in the end, his actions destroyed everything he worked for. Now, chosen one, here's the real irony. Everything that's happening right now, every turn of events, every betrayal, is because they came against a chosen one. This was never just about petty drama or personal vendettas. No, this was about something much bigger, spiritual law. The consequences of their actions are far greater than they ever expected. They thought they could play with fire without getting burned, but now they are feeling the full force of the heat. As it's written in Galatians 6:7, "Do not be deceived, God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows." They sowed chaos and manipulation, and now they are reaping the consequences in ways they never imagined. And the worst part, chosen one, they'll never fully comprehend the true price of what they did. They thought it was just about you, but it was never just about you. It was about their choices, their actions, and the forces they unleashed in the universe. And now they are facing the inevitable consequences of those actions. They cannot escape it. Beloved chosen one, as we reach the end of this message, let's take a moment to reflect on the journey you've been through. Throughout this entire process, you never had to lift a finger. You didn't have to seek revenge, expose them, or even defend yourself. The moment you removed yourself from the chaos, everything began to fall apart on its own. Your mere presence alone was enough to disrupt their lies. Your energy was the very force that held everything together. Even when they were working against you, they fed off of you, manipulated your kindness, and used your name to build their false narratives. But now they have nothing left to hold on to. And the best part? This is not your battle to fight. The universe, karma, divine law, whatever you want to call it, is already handling everything for you. You don't need to chase after justice or spend any more of your energy on their games. All you have to do is stay focused, stay protected, and keep moving forward. While they scramble in panic, turning on each other and trying to escape the mess they created, you rise. Your only job now is to maintain your peace, protect your energy, and let karma do what it does best. Because the truth is clear now, you were never the problem. You were the lesson they refused to learn. Chosen ones, you don't need to do anything. Karma is handling it all for you. The same people who conspired against you, who laughed at your struggles, who thought they were untouchable, are now destroying themselves. They thought they could play dirty and walk away unscathed. But the universe never forgets. Every lie, every betrayal, every act of manipulation is now coming back to them tenfold. And you are free. Free from their games, free from their drama, free from the weight of their negativity. Your only focus now is to keep moving forward, to stay grounded, and to continue thriving in your own power. So, laugh. Stay unbothered. Let them reap what they have sown. Their downfall is no longer your concern. I want to take a moment to thank each of you, chosen one, for being here today, for taking in this message, and for embracing your truth. Your presence is powerful, and it means so much to me. If this message has resonated with you, and you feel called to support this channel, I would be deeply grateful for any contribution via Super Thanks. But please know, whether you donate or not, your support and your energy are all I need. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart, for being part of this community. Finally, I want to send you blessings of peace, protection, and prosperity. May you continue to walk in your power, shielded from negativity and surrounded by the light of truth. May every step you take lead you toward the life you're meant to live. Keep shining, chosen one. The world is yours.